Am I still recording? Yes. What's up, YTPC? This is DSG Pipe Smoker with another pipe smoking video. And today, grab my notes. I am still smoking my Artisan Bent Apple with the blend that I am going to review today, called HH Bold Kentucky. So, before I get into that, let's grab the tin. Here it is. Note the artwork. And by the way, I'm going to put up the Warhorse review that I just recorded, like literally 30 seconds ago, or a minute ago. And I want you guys to take note of something. This is the exact opposite of, or the polar opposite of that blend, even though they both have Dark Fire Kentucky in them. But let's get a little tin description, shall we? So, this is the strongest pipe tobacco among the blends in the Mac Baren range and is not recommended for inexperienced pipe smokers. Well, that's a hell of a sentence right off the bat. HH Bold Kentucky contains a high amount of the finest dark-fired Kentucky from the USA and Africa, and is combined with bright Virginia to soften up the taste just a bit. Yeah, we'll get to flavor profile in a minute, but that's pretty accurate too. The Virginia's not there for sweetness, let's just put it that way. Still, the taste is of earthiness, and smoke plays the majority part, with just a slight nuance of sweetness as the underlying taste. The origin of the taste is in the leaf itself, and thanks to the hot press, the different tastes marry into one unique taste. That's interesting. Like all the other HH blends, this blend has only an absolute minimum of casing and no top flavor at all. Very cool. Made in Denmark by Mac Baren Tobacco, imported by Sutliff Tobacco Company. So, very cool. And this, by the way, is the best tin description I've ever read. I wish that, you know, they would stop getting so hoity-toity and poetic and artsy. Just tell me what the fucking tobacco is, you know? Anyway, so, on with the review. Wrong notes. Hold on. Here's my notes. Here we go. So this is obviously a dark-fired blend. Let me grab the jar that I'm storing it in. I'm going to set this pipe down next to you guys again. And this is what the flakes look like. But while I have the jar open, let me tell you what it smells like. It smells like dark fruit and a very pungent earthiness. Almost like topsoil. Maybe a little sweeter than that. But yeah, it's actually a very pleasant, like I said, very pungent smell to it. Uh-oh. I'm breaking apart one of the... Oh, come on. Work with me here. Okay. Let me find one that's intact and didn't fall apart on me. Here we go. So this is what it looks like. Oh my dear God. That thing is almost black. And yes, there are speckles of Virginia, but as the tin note kindly reminded us, that's not there for flavor. That's just there to break up the dark-fired Kentucky. When you... Hold on a second. Turn my porch light on. Okay. When you go to prepare this tobacco, I have found that you kind of have to rub it out. I have tried the Z-Pack, I have tried the Fold and stuff. I can't get it to work with this blend. If somebody else in the comments section who happens to have more experience than I do with preparing this blend in that manner would like to enlighten me how to do that, that would be really cool. I would really appreciate that, and I think you guys would as well. But I have found that you kind of have to rub it out, and when you rub it out, it looks like a very thick, very, very obviously broken flake. You know, it doesn't rub out into a nice, fine shag cut or ribbon cut. It can be kind of difficult to work with. It comes very, very wet, and it likes to smoke very wet. I tend to like my tobaccos dry, but HH Dark-Fired Kentucky, when you dry it out to the point that I like it, it loses everything that it has going for it. You know, normally this pipe tobacco will smoke full strength, full body, full flavor. I mean, it's a hell of a tobacco. But it loses all of that character when it's dried out too much. It likes to smoke on the wet side, and as a result of that, it's very difficult to start to keep it lit. However, once you get it lit, and if you're not talking and doing a tobacco review, it'll stay lit, and it'll stay lit for a long time. I could smoke this tobacco for, in a pipe like this, I literally went like an hour and 45 minutes, close to 2 hours, just smoking it real slow. And you gotta smoke this pipe tobacco slow, because the nicotine content is pretty high. The first time I smoked it, I didn't realize just how high it was. I smoked it on an empty stomach. I didn't feel anything too much. I felt a little dizzy, so I decided to get up and, you know, get some sugars in my system and, you know, to help rehydrate and help break up the, or help calm down and alleviate the symptoms of high nicotine. And this is basically what I did. I stood up and went, oh shit, and went back down. This is a very strong, or very high nicotine tobacco. It's not in the league of, you know, Haunted Bookshop or Elizabethan Mixture. But man, if you're a lightweight, stay away from this blend. That being said, if you are a heavyweight like Matches860, who just kind of nonchalantly smoked it, you know, you could probably smoke this multiple times throughout a day. The tobacco will also expand quite a bit. If you're not careful, it will cause burning issues. Obviously, because you can't get oxygen, you can't draw the oxygen through the chamber and keep the tobacco lit. So do be careful about how you pack it. Keep in mind that it will expand, and be patient with it. Like I said, it comes very, very wet. Just to get it to the level that it'll smoke well at, minimum 20 minutes. 25 is probably optimal. 30 is probably pushing it. And like I said, it likes to burn a little wet, so just keep that in mind. Some other things to note. Pipe cleaners. They are a must. Like I said, I can find mine. Let me turn my porch light back on. Come on. Cooperate with me here. There we go. Pipe cleaners. It's a must for this tobacco because it will collect in the bottom of the chamber. Now, the way it behaves in most chambers is very, very consistent. The flavor doesn't seem to change, and it doesn't seem to be influenced by the pipe that you put it in. This smokes exactly the same in this pipe as it does my 320, or my Grayboe, or my Corn Cobs. Darkfire Kentucky just doesn't care. Yeah, that's pretty wet. Lighter is here. That being said, oh, one more thing about the smoking mechanics that I forgot to mention. I don't know if you guys have noticed throughout the video and throughout my last video, but man, this produces big volumes of thick, white smoke that just makes everything in your path disappear. It's a great tobacco for that. If you're into that kind of thing and you like big volumes of smoke, especially if you're a cigar smoker, I know that's what I look for in cigars. I like big volumes of flavorful smoke. And this being a Darkfire Kentucky blend, and a full-flavored, full-bodied, full-strength one at that, produces that. But now back to chamber dimensions, because there is something about this blend that's interesting. While it doesn't really change too much between chambers, one thing I have noticed is it smokes better in conical bowls. In wider bowls, because they're more square-like, the tobacco will start to get kind of wet on the edges, and it's hard to keep it lit because they're not being funneled to the center like a conical bowl will. And also, you can put basically an entire flake in a conical bowl, whereas the smaller pipe shapes and chambers, you really can't. Which isn't really a bad thing. It's not going to, ruin the tobacco if you leave some broken up flake in your jar. I just personally like to keep my pressed tobacco pressed as much as possible. But now on to everybody's favorite, the flavor profile. Set my notes down. Right off the bat, in your face, bold smokiness, little bit of sweetness, lots of earth, kind of like a, I don't know, kind of like a gravel yard, or like a dry earth, but it's very, very strong. The pepperiness is noticeable through the exhale, and also through the retrohale. Of course, it dies out about halfway through the bowl, or a third of the way through the bowl, but the spiciness is there. Now, once you reach about the halfway point or the 2/3 point, the blend changes a little bit. The earthiness really picks up. The sweetness is real fleeting. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. But it's there and back. You know, it doesn't stick around. And also during that point in time in the blend, the tobacco will bring down the smokiness just a notch. That stereotypical mesquite smokiness that you get from Dark Friar Kentucky that I like a lot. That dies down as well, but the earthiness changes too. It turns into more of a wet soil kind of smell to it. You can imagine like topsoil, like a fresh thing of topsoil. That's kind of what it tastes like. One moment. It is actually dark out here, believe it or not. And it's been really, really rainy too. So fall is definitely here. But man, you gotta be really patient with this. Try not to smoke it too fast, especially, you know, if you're not a heavyweight. Take your time, because the nicotine will creep up on you. Now, all of that being said, this rapidly rose to number 2 on my Dark Friar Kentucky scale or rating. Orlik Dark Strong Kentucky is still at the top, but that's because Orlik Dark Strong Kentucky has good flavors and it's not quite a pain in the ass to prepare. This is well worth it if you know what you're doing. I say that like I've been smoking for decades, but if you just use a little common sense and you take your time, pay attention to when it gets, you know, too strong in the nicotine department. Make sure you eat it on a full stomach. Make sure you have something with you. I don't know how this compares to 1792 Flake. I have a sneaking suspicion that 1792 is going to be a lot stronger, or at least a little bit stronger as far as, you know, nicotine is concerned, but this is definitely not for beginners, as the tin note described. But I like strong tobaccos, and I really appreciate this blend. It's a nice, you know, break from the heavy English blends that I tend to smoke on my porch. You know, I tend to smoke all the other genres out and about, but yeah, I really, really like this blend. It's definitely my jam. Anyway, this has been DSG Pipe Smoker with another pipe smoking video. I hope you guys found this review entertaining. I hope you got something out of it. I'd like to hear what your opinions of the blend are. I'm going to turn off the camera and actually smoke the blend, and hopefully not need any more relights, but you guys have a good day.